Look, I'm not saying anything bad about these builders, but as you can see, if you get into bed with some of these builders here, you're throwing all your rights out the window. Hey everyone, welcome. As we've discussed on this channel in the past, right now, new construction is the name of the game. Consider this, somewhere around the neighborhood of 45% of everything that's pending right now on the market is a new construction house. That's bananas. And why? Well, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, it's because nobody wants to give up their 3% interest rate on their current house, their current mortgage, so nobody is selling. Unless, of course, it's like a second house or an investment property or it's pretty much paid off. Otherwise, nobody wants to trade in their 3% interest rate for like a 6% interest rate. It just doesn't make any sense. So this means that resale inventory is like crazy low right now. But we still have lots of demand from buyers, sometimes first-time home buyers, who are still willing to get into the market at this 6% interest rate. I mean, they don't have a choice, right? So the only thing that is available on the market right now, for the most part, is new construction. That's right. Now, I'm a fan of new construction. It's just so much nicer, cleaner. You know, there aren't any underlying issues that might creep up on you in the crawl space or in the attic. There are just some unknowns when buying resale, you know? And the first couple of years of new construction are really pretty easy. There's just not much to worry about, especially when you're new to the area. I mean, those first couple of years, especially here in Central Oregon, you want to spend it out there doing all the things, hiking, paddleboarding, fishing, doing all the fun stuff. You don't want to be stuck in your 70s, 80s, or 90s remodel doing projects all summer long, you know? I mean, unless you really do want to do that. So I love new construction, and for the most part, builders here in Central Oregon are doing a really good job with their build process. Things are running pretty smoothly right now. We've gotten past a bunch of those supply chain issues from COVID, and things are running pretty smoothly. We're finally returning to normal. However, I am also a little bit salty about the games that some of these builders are playing with their contract language. And I think it's super important that you know what's going on here. Now, I don't want to paint a bullseye on my back because we do work and sell a lot of new construction homes, but I'm just trying to spit the truth here. By the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, you need to go on ahead and do that. We make videos every week talking about all things recreation, real estate, and current events, all pertaining to Central Oregon living. So subscribe and smash that like button so I can go ahead and get on with this video. Go on. Hit the button. Clickety, clickety. Tap, tap, tap. Click, click. Okay, so you see the new construction companies have been changing their contract language recently. So all of us agents have very standardized contracts that we use on a daily basis. We know it forwards and backwards, and we also know the protections that lie within those contracts that help buyers be protected from any adverse conditions that happen during the course of the contract. There are certain ways that we can protect our buyers within these contracts so that they don't lose their deposits, or AKA earnest money. Well, the large-scale builders, sometimes also known as production builders, don't like that the buyers have protections or outs, as we say. And so they've hired attorneys to draft up their own contracts. Instead of using our standard issue contracts, they use their own contracts without these protections. Now, years ago when the market was more predictable, sometimes these builder contracts did have certain outs or certain protections for the buyers. And sometimes even if you got past those or past those contingencies, you could still get out of a contract and the builder would even give you your earnest money back. I mean, they'd have to be really good reasons, of course. But up until a few years ago, I had never even heard of a builder actually taking somebody's earnest money. Usually, in an effort to keep up with their upstanding reputation throughout the community, they would just kind of release buyers and say, hey, it's okay, we understand, we hope to sell you a house in the future. And everyone was like, oh, the builders are so nice. And they were able to keep their reputations. Because really the truth is that even if they'd lost that buyer, they could turn around and sell it the next day to the next buyer in line and make even more money. Of course, because the market was going like that, right? But as soon as the market shifted, 6 to 9 months ago, all that stopped. full break. Builders immediately hit the panic button. No refunds, no soup for you.
You know something? No soup for you!
And have since revamped their contracts to be even tighter in regards to basically giving earnest money back to a buyer for any reason. Yep, that's pretty much the long and the short of it. Now, I am generalizing here, of course, but if you do buy from a large-scale production builder here in Central Oregon, you can basically kiss that earnest money goodbye. So whether that earnest money is 1%, 2%, 3%, 5% of the purchase price, once you sign that check and send it over to them, it's as good as gone. Whether you get the house or not. So what, John? I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Great question. There are a few things. One, you could lose your ability to afford the house. You get fired, or the company says you gotta come back to the office if you live in another state, or you're in a special circumstance with your life or with your career, and only a very special kind of loan type can actually fit what you need. And restrictions get tighter and that loan product actually goes away. I mean, this could be a 6 to 9 month build process if you're buying it from foundation or even before permits. Sometimes it can be a year to a year and a half long process, and a lot can happen in that time. So if your financing falls through, or maybe you've got the cash in an investment account, but a few weeks before closing, the entire stock market drops 50%. Look, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that I'm no Chicken Little. I'm a very positive and optimistic person. I'm just simply outlining some scenarios that I've actually personally seen. And there are just a ton of variables when it comes to buying a new house. And in most cases, the buyers don't have any rights to get their earnest money back, which is a bummer. Now, there are some other things that kind of frustrate me in these contracts, namely the time frame to build. Look, you're looking to buy a house that hasn't been built yet, and it takes time to build a house. I get that. In most cases, the builders will give you a 6 to 9 month window of estimated completion, but the contract says something quite different. One builder's contract gives them 2 years to complete the build. What is the buyer going to do? Get a rental? Get an Airbnb? But then another contract that I just recently saw didn't even have a must be completed by time frame. It's just wide open. They may never finish the home. And the kicker is that there's no penalty to the builder if they're late in building your house. At least from us, from the buyer's side. And if the buyer's late, for any reason, a lending issue, family vacation, whatever, yeah, there's a penalty. Usually, for most builders, will issue a penalty towards the buyer, and it's something like, a monetized amount on a per day basis. Every day you're late, they're gonna charge you. Okay. As you can probably tell, this really kind of fires me up because it's my job when I'm representing a buyer to protect their interests and to protect their earnest money. And it's obvious that the builders are only looking out for their own interests. They have the inventory and they're in control. It's house rules. It's builders' rules. But I don't want to completely bash on builders either. My stepdad was a builder years ago and I've sold tons of new construction, and I understand that a lot of times, oftentimes, the builders get caught holding the bag. A really difficult buyer comes along and they decide to customize their house with vomit-colored paint, and then they use some sort of loophole in the contract and they get out with the earnest money and all. Who's gonna buy a house with vomit-colored paint? I mean, it actually hurts the house's value, and then the builder has to pay to repaint the entire house again, costing them further money with this particular build. Or in a downtrending market, like we saw 3 to 6 months ago, a house is worth less when a buyer jumps out of the contract. Then the builder loses money on the house, and it's not their fault either. And then sometimes there are just those clients, the ones that make builders' lives miserable. Oh, none of you, of course. One of the most amazing things is all of the people that we meet on YouTube are fantastic clients. So you guys rock. I'm talking about other people sometimes. Point is, I absolutely see it both ways. And also, for the most part, all of our Central Oregon builders are great and very reputable. We truly do have a great relationship with all of them. At least we did before we did this video. It is a small community and they know that they cannot afford to simply piss off a bunch of buyers in the local marketplace. It's bad for business because it will always get around. it gets around. And of course, they're gonna finish the home eventually. 99% of the time, it costs the builder money in the form of interest every month that they are late. So it's in their best interest to finish the home as well. So if you're catching my drift, this isn't me saying don't buy new construction, just understand the risks. If you simply cannot risk losing a single dollar, then maybe buying new construction isn't for you. If you are easygoing and committed to the process and can't simply imagine anything going wrong throughout the entire build process, then maybe new construction is a really great option for you. But no matter what, when looking for a house, you absolutely need a very experienced agent in your corner. Speaking of which, that's my cue. If you are looking to buy or sell in the area, my team and I would love to be your resource of choice. You can find our contact information down below in the description, or simply hit us up at krommrealestate.com, and be sure to follow us on our other social media platforms. We'd love to connect. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next week. All of our crap. I need to phone a friend. What is that?
I'll have to phone a friend.